Hello, members and others, Facebook eCampus, Facebook World. This is Reverend Michael McDaniel of the Northeast Missionary Baptist Church with Dr. Parker, nurse practitioner. So what we want to do today is Dr. Parker is a medical professional who is very knowledgeable about this pandemic and COVID-19 or coronaviruses in general. And so we don't want our church to act in fear, but we want them to be informed. And so Dr. Parker called the church the other day to share just some information. And so just the ideal of us having this conversation to share with our congregation. So thank you for coming and sharing on today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's do this a little bit. You are PhD of nursing, and you're a nurse practitioner. For those who don't know, tell us what that is.
So a nurse practitioner is advanced practice registered nurse with advanced certification that's educated and qualified to work as a licensed independent provider providing care for families, children based on education and certification.
Sure. So you've been doing this for over 25 years now.
Yes, I've been a nurse practitioner for over 25 years and a registered nurse for the last 35 years.
So you've been in this for a long time, and so we appreciate you taking your time to come and share some valuable information with us as we deal with this coronavirus. So I'll turn it over to you, and you can give us some answers to these most frequently asked questions.
So as we walk through this every day, there's an abundance of information. And so what I encourage us all to do is to walk in faith, to be informed, and to not be in fear. And the way we live each day, informed, in faith, and not in fear, is by having the answers to those questions that we are asking each other, that we're circulating with each other. The most important thing is to get your information from a credible source or resource. And if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not accurate. So what is COVID? COVID is a coronavirus. It is not a new thing. We have had coronaviruses in our world for centuries. This one is called novel coronavirus, or COVID-19, signifying the year that it showed up, 2019. Coronaviruses, the difference between those and an influenza virus is that coronaviruses are transmitted from animals to human hosts by inhabiting different places. So you cannot get it from your dog. That is not what I'm saying. The primary virus is found in animals, and in some form or another, their droppings or their excrement or something gets entwined with humans, and then it's spread to humans that way, and then it becomes person to person, which we call community spread. And it's called a pandemic because now it is worldwide. It has moved from the community in China, where there was a fish market and a seafood market and an animal market was associated with the initial outbreak, so they could trace it. Then it was passed from person to person, like viruses are, through large droplets in your respiratory system. When it passes from person to person, then to the community at large, and because we travel now, we're not stationed to our own community, it becomes wherever people go. The key to this is the community spread is inevitable, but how it spread is important, because the most vulnerable of our population, those over 65, those with other health conditions, heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, immunocompromised, and especially those at the age of 85 and older, their body is weaker. 80% of people that come in contact with the COVID-19, the coronavirus, will have mild to moderate symptoms. So your young people, your teenagers, your healthy adults, they may not even be uncomfortable. They may have a cough, they may have a fever, they may experience what they think is the flu. They will survive. But who will not are those people that are at risk. And if it's spread from person to person, community to community, the way we handle how rapidly that spreads and what our community can handle is by doing social isolation. And that's what social isolation is about.
So I think today goes into effect at 11:59 tonight that some, I didn't hear the report, my wife shared it with me, but non-essential places are going to be closed down. What are those places? The grocery stores are obviously still going to be open.
So, grocery stores, pharmacy, drive-through, food places, and healthcare organizations. The reason for that is because we are concerned about our individual selves and our individual liberties, or our four and no more, and not the community at large, we are still neglecting to protect our most vulnerable. We are still gathering in large gatherings, and we are communicating with each other in ways that spread this virus. And then these people go home to other people or circulate in larger places, which doesn't mitigate the spread. We know it's going to spread, but we want the spread to look like a mound instead of a peak.
Sure.
Because the peak, it uses up all our resources at one time, and we don't have the resources healthcare-wise. The most severe illnesses will require a ventilator, oxygen, and intensive care. The milder forms, you can take care of yourself at home and take care of the symptoms. If you have a fever, you take something for the fever. If you have a cough, you take something for the cough. But if your symptoms become severe, where you're short of breath, where the fever does not subside, where you can't eat, you can't drink, then you need hospitalization. But if we currently have 146 positive cases in Oklahoma.
146.
Right now, 146. The more people we test, the more people are going to test positive. Some of us have already been exposed and don't know it. It's not about who's positive. That's the point. It's about if you're positive, do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And that's why the 7-day quarantine to 14 days. Because you can be spreading it 3 to 4 days before you get symptoms and 3 to 4 days after your symptoms. Therefore, if you've been in contact, if you've traveled, if you've been around somebody with those symptoms, you are to self-quarantine. That means stay away from people and wash your hands, cover your nose, face, and mouth for 7 days, or 4 days after your last symptoms or after your fever. And we need to do that to protect the greater population. We can handle so many ICU beds, ventilators. There are only so many. It's a finite number. Most things are going to outpatient care. So if you need your medicine, call. They will make sure you can pick it up at the drive-through pharmacy. If you need groceries, they have delivery services that are doing it for free now.
Mm-hmm.
They will deliver it right to your home, no matter where you live. Even food places are doing that. And so those people are being allowed to move around, and obviously healthcare workers, because if people are being hospitalized, we have to take care of them. But what hospital workers and healthcare workers are also doing is using the technology. Instead of it disconnecting us, we want it to connect us. So we want to be able to have video visits, phone visits, FaceTime visits, secure messaging visits, and we're set up for that.
Mm-hmm.
So they will call you in your home in whatever form you need and touch bases with you and make sure you have what you need going forward. So there's not a lack of resources. There is just resources need to be used in a measured way, because if we go in like we did in Sam's and buy up all the toilet tissue, it's not that they stop making it. We just have to wait for the next delivery for it to come.
Sure.
And compromised people can't wait for the next bed if they're truly sick. So we don't need you running out and showing up out of fear.
Absolutely.
So be informed.
Well, when you and I spoke the other day, and you mentioned that, yeah, we can handle it if it's 500 people over a week or over a month, but we cannot handle it if it's 500 people in a day.
Exactly.
And I think to be socially responsible is paramount right now. You talk about churches canceling, and as a pastor, I struggled with canceling that first day that first Sunday when it wasn't really told that we had to. But I felt like to be responsible, that I really wanted to kind of model that. And I asked you the other day, did I make the right decision? And you told me I did. And so what would you just say to churches and pastors and just people in general who are struggling with altering their life right now?
So either we alter our life or we alter a generation. we wipe out a whole generation of people that cannot afford to get this illness. So in church, we fellowship, we hug, we lock hands, we hold hands. We know that that spreads viruses. So what I would implore us to do is to do things better. As a result, you will find yourself reaching more instead of less, and then you won't compromise that valuable resource that's our elder population. They hold all this value and knowledge, so we need to honor and respect them enough, to care enough about them, to do what's right for them. So when we're doing what's right, that's community care. And that's what church is about. It's about caring for our community. And so if I said to you, walking in here in this building would put every elder at risk for death, because 10% of those that have died have been in the 80-year-old and up.
Sure.
And it is proven to be severe. If I told you that that was like putting a bullet in a chamber and firing it directly at your first row of deacons and deaconesses, would you do it?
No.
That's why we have to be responsible. When we know better, we do better, and God provides. So the resources will come when we give of ourselves and still do what we're supposed to do in that time. So take the time. I couldn't come to church, but I called members that I had their number, and I said, how are you today? Is there anything you need? Is there something I can do for you? Because that's what church is. And so we can still do that. Coronavirus hasn't taken our joy. It hasn't taken our ability to step outside and breathe fresh air. It hasn't taken our ability to connect. Social distancing does not mean social isolation. So call them and check on them.
No, that's super encouraging, because the church and the people are looking to do that, and we can do that via internet, email, texting, all of those things that you previously mentioned. So I would just say to all of us, stay connected, stay informed, walk in love and not in fear. And I think it was kind of appropriate to be talking about the fruits of the Spirit when, in fact, goodness and all of that stuff really is putting someone else before yourself.
Exactly.
And that's essentially what we are asked to do. And it's only going to be for a short while. When we look back at this, it will become kind of a blip on the radar screen, because we will have gone beyond it. So,
and it's what we do when we are tried and tested that shows our character. And so I challenge you, we do 21-day fast here at church at the beginning of the year. Look at it as your 21 days of something that you're giving up, but in service to others.
absolutely.
So it's not a selfish pursuit, but talk to each other. And it's okay to say, I'm scared. It's okay to have the young people and the older people, they're absorbing all this news, but put it in context. Have you gone without? Is there something you need that you don't have? And what is your resource? And then what is our resource? And so be clear. If there's anything you need, you can call someone and you'll have it.
Absolutely.
So we're not without.
Well, thank you so much for your time and being a part of this that we can share with our congregation. So as this continues, if there's something that we need to do or talk about, we may invite you back out again so we can just share and make sure we're all on the same page.
Wonderful. So
Thank you.
wash your hands, cover your nose and mouth, and be considerate of your neighbors, and check on them.
Thank you. Tune in.